Rob Liefeld this foot a little bit, which is a comics dig.
We at Indie Android love comics enough to know that they're really hard to make. Most monthly series have teams that split up the workload to make sure Spider-Man keeps on spidering and manning. But today on Indie Android, we're talking to a writer and artist who often handles those duties solo to find out how a comic page comes together.
I'm a cartoonist. I write and draw comics. I also work with other writers. I started drawing comics in 1990 when I was 12 and started self-publishing them, just photocopying comics in 1992 when I started 9th grade. And I've been doing this as a full-time living since 2009.
This is former punk rocker and current Eisner Award-winning graphic novelist Nate Powell, known for books like the March Trilogy, Swallow Me Whole, and 2019's Two Dead.
My own solo work, which sort of falls under magical realism, usually involves a mix of personal and worldly and political concerns that are filtered through some kind of weird, suspense horror relationship. I'm still, in a lot of ways, primarily influenced by a lot of the 70s, 80s superhero artists. Arthur Adams, Bill Sienkiewicz, Mike Mignola, Michael Golden. These are some of the creators who really got me excited about making comics.
Nate works out of his home studio in Bloomington, where he writes and draws graphic novels. Where serialized comics are released month to month, his books, like Any Empire and Come Again, are pitched as singular stories.
In a serialized book, every 20 or 22 pages, in addition to this larger narrative arc, you have to have a smaller narrative arc that opens and closes and carries over every 20 pages. It's much more highly regimented and disciplined than I ever respected. It's not really my cup of tea, but I really respect the limitations that creators have to work in.
We could happily talk comics for hours, but lucky for you, instead, Nate offered to show us how he brings a page to life.
For today, basically, I just felt like drawing some characters from Come Again. So to do a thumbnail version of the page, you've written enough or you know where your story is headed. So the thumbnail is intended to make sure you have enough space for everything in your page. Spoiler alert, we're gonna have one of the kids in the book being found in this dark cave. We have a hand coming out towards this weird kid whose mind has been wiped or whatever. It's just enough detail to know what's going to be on your panels. We have stalagmites and stalactites, and we're going to use those compositionally. I'm not thinking about anything other than what they're adding to the flow on the page. And that's it. I try to knock out a complete page of pencils in like 20 minutes, if possible. And I do most of my thinking with the ink. And we're going to get our characters rendered just enough. A minority of cartoonists might do things strictly physically, like I do, but there's a lot of sort of a process hybrid, I think. 80% of the work happens before a pencil ever touches the paper on the drawing table. So doing a graphic novel might require a couple of years of part-time writing and letting things just kind of naturally emerge, then slowly getting a little more focus, then basically doing very rough sketches of every page in the entire book to get a feel of the scope, the scale, the size. Each page you're reading is actually about 5 pages worth of work. I don't write scripts at all for myself. I have a stack of index cards, and a lot of that is just taking little scenes and snippets, and I won't work out my actual script of dialogue and stuff until it's on the finished penciled page. However, I love working with a script because of the kinds of limitations it gives. With each particular writer, I know where I do and don't have leeway into the narrative, and I know to kind of stay in my lane in certain parts. And then there are other parts where I know that it's kind of playtime for me and I'm able to have a lot more say in the way that a scene is flowed. making comics, it's like, obviously it's not manual labor, but it's literally manual labor. So that involves concerns like, I've got some emerging kind of like arthritis problems and joint problems in both of my hands. And I think a lot of it has to do with posture. Like I spend a long time just kind of like barely hunched over, but it takes a toll on your muscles and your nerves. And, like I'm 41 now, and it's a weird thing to be like, this hand is my livelihood. Like if something really goes wrong with this hand, it requires a major life change.
As he finishes up the piece, Nate's going to give it a grimy, dirt-spattered look that's recommended by 4 out of 5 dentists.
We're gonna go to Toothbrush Town. Toothpaste-wise, I'm Crest all the way, but yeah, Oral-B is the splatter toothbrush of choice. So here's what we're gonna do with the white ink. We're gonna put some in this little thing, and we have to water it down just enough so that it can flow through my nib. I would say that's about a page right there.
For more of Nate's work, check out his social media or his website, or you can listen to our conversation on WFIU's profiles. Links to all that are in the description. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share, all those things. Thanks for watching.
But that also means there's less accountability. Hello, Bruce. There we go. See, that's his little spot. Hey, buddy.